Welcome to the fourth episode of our webinar series. Am I audible to all of you? All right. So let's start with a little bit of a background. Say in Buddhism, the mandala has metonymic functions referring to sacred spaces both in a living and a visualized space, embedded with deep cosmological symbolism and liturgical significance. The ritual landscape is conceived as a phenomenal realm of deities as well as macrocosm for the practitioner, aiding through the multi-stage progression of the path of realization. Representations of mandalas are foundational to tantric artistic repertoire as well, which comes in many shapes and forms, ranging from two-dimensional formats of paintings and bas-reliefs to the three-dimensional forms of metal icons and monastic or temple edifices that manifest in the core ideology of emptiness in an abbreviated form. So as we all know that the topic for today's session is contextualization of mandala visualization in the Buddhist cultures of Eastern India, and it focuses on the visual interpretation of mandala through iconographic analysis of Buddhist cultures from the early medieval artistic traditions of Eastern India, and it also discusses the concurrent transmission in India and Asia. And for this, we have with us Ms. Abira Bhattacharya. A very warm welcome to you, Abira. She is working as Assistant Curator of Department of Anthropology at National Museum, Delhi. And she has curated many exhibitions on different themes focusing on the indigenous arts of India. And she's also worked as a co-curator in the national and international projects. She has also conceptualized different interactive and demonstrative educational activities to promote community engagement, to make the visitors aware about the museum's ethnographic collections, and also she has been actively working in making the collection visible through virtual portals. She is also a doctoral scholar in the Department of Art History, National Museum Institute, Delhi, and she is actively involved in her research and documentation, which focuses on the iconographic development of Buddhist goddesses in Eastern India and its transmission to South Asia. I welcome you, Abira, and maybe please proceed with your presentation.
Thank you, Aditi. Am I audible? Aditi, am I audible to you?
Yes, you are audible.
Okay.
Please start.
Thank you, Aditi. Thank you, Pranay, and thank you, Archiloop, for inviting me for this lecture today. So, this lecture it's a part of my doctoral thesis, and I would be discussing on the contextualization of mandala visualization in the sculptures. So from the term mandala, we know from the Buddhist viewpoint and also from a very generic viewpoint, like we know it's a geometrical it's a format of a geometrical diagram, and when we talk about it in a religious context, then it becomes a sacred space to us, and the sacred space is actually it's a abode of God, and there's like there's a centralized deity, and he or she has a retinue of more divinities, each presiding a cardinal direction and also the intermediate cardinal directions. And based on the mandala, like it's not only the mandala in a visual format, but it has psychological impact as well, and it has a very deep significance when we talk about the mandala archetype motifs, which form the basic patterns of our dreams and fantasies. But it is distinguished by the fact that this is one of the most important of them from functional point of view. Indeed, it could even be called the archetype of wholeness. So this mandala, it is a cosmos. It's a map. It's a map leading the practitioner to visualize himself and resemble the identity of the deity who is residing in the center. And if you see it on my cover page, also I have taken one image. Though it's not a very late image, but this is from the National Museum collection only, and this is from our anthropology collection. So here we can, like, it's just to give an idea like what mandala seems like, a circular format in which there are like two triangles which are juxtaposed, and there are concentric circles. So it's a representation of the whole cosmos. And how, like, Carl Jung has his own theory, and even he has tried to define this squaring of circle, like the circumscribed circle within a square, and how it leads the practitioner to envision these deities and have a very, I can say, like a feeling of emancipation or a feeling of enlightenment. So in my presentation, I have taken few images to showcase this journey of like how this concept of mandala is not only delimited in form of three-dimensional structures of temples and also Buddhist monasteries, but we see the same in the in sculptural formats as well. So we know the sculptural formats are either like the bar reliefs or they are three-dimensionals. So in while discussing the three-dimensional sculptures and the bas reliefs, I have taken some themes to understand the whole journey of Vajrayana Buddhism as well, like how it evolved, how the concept of Mahayana led to the culmination of the tantric practices. So to begin with, I have taken one very important stele from the National Museum. So we can see like this is a bas relief which is from the 10th century. It is from the Pala period, and like to give you a little bit of background. To give you a little bit of background, I would say like okay, so in the Pala period, like in the Eastern India during 11th, during mid 8th century from 12th century, there was a culmination of Vajrayana Buddhism, in which the earlier concept of Buddha and Bodhisattvas, like it expanded. And now there was a full pantheon of divinities in which there were male deities, there were female divinities, and in this concept of whole, in entirety, the Bodhisattvas and the Panchatathagat, they played a very important role. So when we talk about Buddhism in Vajrayana context, we like when we talk about Tara, when we talk about Manjushri or other wrathful divinities, it is very important to understand the foundation, like what led to this context of mandala in a more in a more advanced manner. So this stele, it shows the 8 Ashtamaha Bodhisattvas, and these are named as like Akash Garbha, Avalokiteshvara, Samantabhadra, Maitreya, Vajrapani, Manjusri, Sarva Nirvana, Risha Kambin, and then Shiti Garbha. So these 8 Bodhisattvas are depicted surrounding the central divinity. The central divinity is the image of the Buddha. So this is a very earlier format of I can say a mandala format. And when we talk about the iconography, each and every bodhisattva can be identified through the attributes. Like Avalokiteshvara can be identified by the like I can point it here, like Avalokiteshvara is this one. He can be understood by the presence of the Utpal. Then there is a sword. So the sword is meant for Shiti Garbh. Then there is a Nageshwar flower. The Nageshwar flower is meant for I think this is Maitreya. So because there is a stupa on his headdress. So this is Maitreya. And each and every of these bodhisattvas, they have different ritualistic contexts, and then they are variedly described in different Buddhist texts. Like Samantabhadra is said to be the earliest of all bodhisattvas, and he is described in the Lotus Sutra. Then Avalokiteshvara has different forms, and he is the savior. He plays the role of a savior. Similarly, Akash Garbh, as the name suggests, he is associated with the concept of ether and space. Like Manjushri, he is associated with wisdom. Vajrapani is important because from the concept of Vajrapani, we will see how it is derived and it leads to the transition of the sixth Bodhisattva, or the sixth jina, that is Vajrasattva, and then Vajrasattva leads to the promulgation of the rightful divinities. So, we move to the next slide. Yeah. So as I was saying, that this concept of the of mandala is not only delimited in format of a sculpture, but also in format of architecture. So it is very well represented from the caves of Ellora. And Gary Hopfield Malandar, a very early scholar, had written the concept how the cave rock cut cave of Ellora, they are very prominent in understanding the mandala concept. And there are different scholars at there is John Huntington, then there are Rob Linroth. So they have variedly discussed like how these mandalas are important and how the placement of these 8 bodhisattvas, they are shifting in period of time. So in Ellora, which is a very important rock cave consisting of 12 Buddhist caves in the Deccan in Maharashtra, is a very good representation in which we can see the development of the iconographic form of Ashtabodhisattva and also of the mandalas as well. So I have taken one shrine image from the cave number 12, where Buddha is shown, like one of his hand is in lying, it's just lying on the lap, and the other is broken. Though the other is broken, we can understand that this is meant for the Bhumi Sparsha Mudra. So we know the Bhumi Sparsh is meant for the enlightenment scene. And the enlightenment scene is related to the subjugation of the Mara. And this is one of the important scenes of Buddha's life. But then from a very different perspective, since cave number 12 was constructed during a time when Vajrayana Buddhism was at its peak. So we can say like it was spreading, and in Eastern India it had a very strong influence over the political and socio-cultural domains. So scholars have said, like, since this Buddha is making a Bhumi Sparsha Mudra, so he can be a representation of Akshobhaya as well. So here comes the concept of Dhyani Buddhas, like the Panchatathagat. Like from the Bodhisattvas, now we are moving towards the Panchatathagat. And if we go inside the shrine, we can see, like, I have taken 2 different sides of the shrine because of the entrance is very small. So I have taken 2 parallel images of the left and the right wall. If we go to the left wall, we can see like a tall image of a male deity, and we can easily see that there is a fly whisk in one of his hand, and then there is a lotus in the other hand. So the lotus helps us to understand this is Avalokiteshvara as we go by the iconography. And if we see there are 3 more parallel male divinities, like who are little smaller in hierarchical scale, standing on the side of the wall. So now, and at the top of these bodhisattva images, there is also a row of Buddha. So here we understand, like this shrine, now if we go to the previous slide, I showed you this thing, like where Buddha shown in a bodhisattva is surrounded by a retinue of 8 bodhisattvas. Now it's in a flat format of a shallow relief, but now it has taken a structural format of a temple, where the same image of the bodhisattva, of the Buddha, which can be also considered like as a as a representation of Akshobhaya Dhyani Buddha, is surrounded by the 8 Bodhisattvas and within a shrine. So the shrine itself acts like a mandala. And as I said, the mandala is a sacred space, which is conceived as the center of the universe, of the cosmos, and it is presided by the central divinity. So the central divinity in this context is Buddha in Jnani Buddha, Buddha in Bhumi Sparsha Mudra, and then the Bodhisattvas are again identified by their respective attributes. So this context becomes more like we can see the variation, because when we read about the Ellora caves, the first, like the earliest of them is cave number 6, where in the cave number 6 images we see Buddha in different gestures, and they are very parallel to the Panchabuddhas. But now we also see, like in the earlier caves, like which are cave number 6, then cave number 5, and I think this is from cave number 4. So this image we see like Buddha is making the Dharma Chakra Mudra, not unlike the enlightenment of like the Bhumi Sparsha Mudra. And again, the same format is followed. The same format in which Avalokiteshvara is on the right, and there is Vajrapani. So Vajrapani can be identified by the Vajra, by the thunderbolt, and because they are attending the central divinity, so customarily they are shown holding a fly whisk. And at the top of the stele, not the stele, but at the top of the carving, the bar relief, if you see, like there are 2 garland bearers at the topmost sections, like semi-celestial beings who are bringing offerings to the central divinity. And then they are all, like, since from inside, the structure or the plan of the shrine is square, so they are all surrounding the central divinity in a systemized manner. And the same format where Buddha acts like the central divinity is also now can be seen on the walls. And now these 2 are from the cave number 12, which is from a later period, from cave number 12 images are dated as from 9th century, some are from the 10th century. So these images are much later, and by looking at these images, we can also understand how the Vajrayana Buddhism was becoming more inclusive. And when I say inclusive, if you see this image at the topmost section, there are 3 niches. There are 3 niches in which there are 3 female divinities. So the concept of inclusiveness comes when 2 different genders are playing an equivalent role, when female and male divinities are given an equivalent position to achieve enlightenment. And then same at the bottom section, like this mandala, which I have shown you different formats. This mandala now takes a very square shape, in which in the center, Amitabh, I can say it is Amitabh because he is in a meditative pose, and then he is in the center, and then there is the Bodhisattva can be identified by the sword. Then like some of them are broken, like this can be seen and understood as a Manjushri, because he is holding the Prajnaparamita book, or the book of the wisdom. And there is one more, like when we see cave number 11 and 12 of Ellora, though these images, why I am trying taking these images, though they are not from Eastern India, but then there are records which shows like there was a clear link between Eastern Indian monasteries like Nalanda, Vikramshila, Jagadalla, and between these Western Deccan Buddhist centers. There was not only exchange of knowledge through the monks, but then they were placed in such a manner that they crossed the overland trade routes. So when a monk or a merchant who is who is patronizing Buddhism, if he is traveling to the west, if he is traveling towards Bay of Bengal, so he might come across this this particular monastery or temple with his shrine, and then he might go to another shrine which is in the adjacent area. And how this has been established because of the donor inscriptions. So many scholars like Gaureshwar Bhattacharya and then Rob Lynn Roth and also Huntington, they have worked on these inscriptions and how donor inscriptions play an important role to understand this nexus which happened between the ruler of the place, like the Pala ruler and the rulers in the Deccan, and also the nexus between the merchants. And similarly, so now the mandala, that's the whole reason to take these images from a different regional sphere, though the stylistic features are very different. When I will be showing you the Pala images, they are very different from these images from the west of the Western Deccan, but very important to understand this development from the east to west direction, or like, because some scholars say like the prominence of Tara, it came with from the eastern India. Some scholars have a very different opinion. They say it came from west. But then if we see these images at the top of these three female divinities, like to best of my knowledge, I can understand that there is a Chunda or there is a Prajnaparamita who is holding a text, and then there is a Chunda, and I cannot decipher the central image because it's like some parts are broken. But then scholars have said like this whole placement of the divinities, it's not fixed. Sometimes the placement of Manjushri and placement of Avalokiteshvara can differ. But in the text, they have given very definite directions, like which direction is presided by which bodhisattva. So now I move to some images of from the Eastern Indian context. As I have shown you the concept of Ashtamaha Bodhisattvas, like and so who are the Bodhisattvas? The Bodhisattvas are the, like, they are the divine beings who have achieved like who have achieved the enlightenment, but they are not. I can say they are not. Accepting to attain the nirvana, because they are in a process of helping the sentient beings, like they are helping their disciples to undertake the journey of enlightenment and to remove the obstacles in the path. And in this whole sphere of in this whole pantheon of Ashtamaha Bodhisattvas, Avalokiteshvara and Manjushri are very important. And later on, like with the introduction of Vajrasattva, this whole context also changes. So Avalokiteshvara has many different forms as described in different texts, and this is like one of the basic images I'm taking, like of Avalokiteshvara Loknath. So this is a very important image, like from 6th century, and at the same time, like the Ellora cave was also undergoing development. This development, when we see when I was talking about the earliest cave of cave number 6, and at the same time, at like the contemporary artistic development was happening at Nalanda. So in this image, Avalokiteshvara, as I said, can be identified by the presence of the Utpal, or which is a symbol of compassion, shown standing. And then there are images of Buddhist female divinities. So these female divinities, like at the end, there are Brikuti and Tara, who are the most important of his female attendants, and there are like 4 more attendants. So this kind of formation in which there is a central divinity surrounded by a retinue of more divinities is also gives us a hint of an mandala. And this mandala is described in the Manjushri Mulkalp. We find the reference of this particular image in Manjushri Mulkalp, and the same is happening at the western in the Deccan area also. Then we find a very similar image, not in this format, but in a different format, where I don't have the full image, but only a part of it, which is given by Dr. Pia Bencaccio. So in this image, there is Avalokiteshvara at one end, and then there are these six six dharanis, or these female divinities, and at the end there is Buddha image at one corner of the corridor. So this mandala concept is associated with the concept of sadhana. So sadhana, like, because when we read the descriptions, they are the sadhanas, the visualizations. Like the practitioner has to memorize. It's a mnemonic device. The practitioner has to memorize this sadhana, and then he has to meditate upon them. When he meditates upon them, he enters into a psychological process in which he undergoes the transformation of identity. So the similar concept is seen in like these sculptural formations. They are enforcing the mandala visualization, and as well as for art historians, for people who are working on iconography, it helps us to understand the artistic development as well. So these are the two parallel images which I have taken, and like I have tried to emphasize the earlier formations of mandala, and then now I take one, like a different form of Avalokiteshvara. This is also very important. Like we don't, like many scholars have said, have worked upon it, and then they say that this is a very early formation of Amogha Pasha. And Amogha Pasha is very popular in the Far East, and we have Amogha Pasha Sadhana. Again, the Sadhana, it talks about the Amogha Pasha Mandala. So, like, these texts like Sadhanamala, then this Nishpani Yogavali, especially Nishpani Yogavali and Sarvatra Thagat Samagra, these are the two important texts which talks about these mandalas. And we find the description of Amogh Pasha in Amogh Pasha Panchadev Strota by Chandragoman, and also by Amogh Pasha Sadhana by Sahaj Lalita. So there are different forms of Amogh Pasha in which either he is four-armed, he is eight-armed, or he is four, six, or eight-armed. And but in this image, he's 12-armed. And the similar kind of image, this image I have taken, which is by Gaureshwar, like which is published by Gaureshwar Bhattacharya. So he has taken another image from the Rajshahi Museum, and the format of both of them is very similar. So this image is from 8th century, and the other image is from 11th century. But when we see the images at the bottom, like why we are associating them with Amogh Pasha, because of the presence of these images at the bottom, in which the Amogh Pasha sadhana, like which talks about the presence of Tara, Sudana Kumar, Suchi Mukha, Hayagriv, and Prikuti, like these retinue of divinities, they are present in both the contexts. And in this image specifically, we see two more divinities, two more female divinities, apart from these four divinities. So in this image, we see Prajnaparamita and Vasudhara also. So Prajnaparamita, like she is the transcendental, like personification of transcendental wisdom, and she is the mother of all Buddhas. But here, by looking at the dimension of the image, we can understand that this was a very initial stage when these female divinities were undergoing a change and change of identity, and the gynocentric ideas or the matrifocal ideas were gradually developing. So the presence of Prajnaparamita and Vasudhara and Suchimukha, like as the name suggests, Suchi means noodle, needle. So a needle-faced emaciated man. He's asking for the ambrosia of life. He's asking for immortality. He's at one corner, and if we see, this is the ambrosia, the jar. Then there is like I'm talking about the attributes. There is rosary. then the Utpala is there, and then there is the wisdom text, the Prajnaparamita text, the personification of the text is also present there, and then the two important attendants, Tara at the bottom, and then this is Brikuti. Brikuti is very parallel to the Parvati image in Hinduism, and she holds similar kind of attributes, but they are like, but I did by iconographic study, both can be distinguished. So this image helps us to understand this concept of Amog Pasha Mandal. So I have taken the beginning of, I begin my presentation with the concept of Ashtamaha Bodhisattva. Then I move towards, like I have taken one of the most important Bodhisattvas, which is Avalokiteshvara. And now I'm trying to emphasize like each and every Bodhisattva also had a mandala. It is not only like they have to be in a mandala around Buddha, but then each of them is also presiding its own mandala. So similarly, there is, in this context, I'm trying to discuss on Amog Pasha mandala, and like in Indian context, we find mostly the 8-armed Amog Pasha mandala, which is codified by Kashmiri Mahapandit Shakya Sri Bhadra, which was who was from the Mahipala I dynasty, is like roughly late 10th century, I can say. From the, like, he was a Buddhist adept from 10th century during the regnal phase of Mahapala I from Bengal. And then he had written this sadhana, which also the sadhana became very popular in Tibet, and it was translated in Tibetan text, and also it became very popular in China and also in Japan. So yeah, so I have showed you like the 12th arm image and its parallel, and this is the 4-armed image. This is from Ratnagiri. So as I said, 4-armed image also existed, and how, like in the earlier image, the confusion between whether it is Amog Pasha or not is because of like, because scholars say like firstly there was no mention of the 12-arm form, but it can be it is little bit divergent from the main text, and in this form it is very clearly identifiable because of the presence of this pasha, which is the noose. So the noose is like the deity is holding the noose, and um, he's entangling all the fetters or all the obstructions, I can say. And as the sadhana says, like sadhana is like the metric device. It says like there should be Tara and Bhikuti, and then there is Hayagriva. So, and at the top also we see Amitabh, and then there is the Dhani Buddha at the head also. So in this image, like we see the prominence of Dhyani Buddha, like the Dhyani Buddha is presiding at the headdress. And so the concept of Dhyani Buddha is also it also became very visible, and each and every Dhyani Buddha, like they created a family. So in the Dhyani Buddha family, the 5 Dhyani Buddhas, they had their 5 female consorts or the Shaktis, and they also have different bodhisattvas. So the earlier concept of Manusya Buddhas, then bodhisattvas, like it became, and these female divinities, like early female divinities, they became combined in a more structured manner with the prominence of Dhyani Buddhas. And now I'm taking one image from East Java, which is very later period, and it is one of the inscribed image from Chandi Jago. It has a very long inscription at the back of the stele, and it's a copper image, and it is, as it is mentioned, like it is dated inscription 1286 during the reign of Keti Nagar Vishwa Kumara Rupa, who is the patron of the plaque. So this whole concept, like if visually we see the image, the visual interpretation gives us a it shows like it is a formation of a mandala in which the central divinity, who is 6-armed, not 6 but he is 8-armed, is, as I said, like the eight-armed description matches with the description of Kashmir Mahapandit Shakya Sri Bhadra, and it is a clear indication like how these images, which like how the text which was written in Eastern India, it became popular in Southeast Asia as well. And we have a lot of textual like references in of the Chinese travelogues. Then we have references of Eastern Indian Buddhist adepts like Atisa, who traveled to Indonesia during like 11th century, and then he stayed there for a longer period, and then again he came back to India, Atisa, and then he traveled like during the last phase of his life, he went to Tibet. So the connection between Eastern India and these Javanese kingdoms, also between Champa, like Champa, which is on the which a dynasty which ruled at the coastal area of Vietnam, and then also with Thailand, we have very prominent textual descriptions, and in the similar manner, like this. This image not only shows the transmission of texts, the transmission of ideas and icons from Eastern India, but it also helps us to understand like how the how these mandalas were constructed in two-dimensional format as well, because this is not three-dimensional. Because when we as a very generic idea of mandala gives us like, okay, if it is a painting or it's like a thanka, or it like a thanka, when we see a Tibetan thanka, like it has a very elaborate visual description of mandala, in which like there are gates, there are like gates on every cardinal direction, there are circles, as because the description of mandala itself says like there has to be a circle. It begins with a circle, and then there are square, there are gates, then there are different places like some have some places which are decided by charnel grounds, like the cremation ground, some places for the ponds, then there are different places for ocean. So it's like it's like, as I said, it's the cosmos. So but this cosmos, it became very like it became represented in this abbreviated format in these cultural forms. So apart from the sadhana of Avalokiteshvara, which I've already said, like we can see there is a sun and a moon disk. We can see this is the moon and this is the sun. So this sun and the moon, it has a very esoteric significance, because it shows the it is important in the ritualistic context also. The early descriptions of the sun and moon appears in Lotus Sutra. Then we have the same description in Hevajra Tantra as well. And then it also shows the combination. The sun is the compassion and the moon is the wisdom, and the combination of the sun and the moon disk leads to the unity. And then we have these we have the Dhyani Buddhas. So the Dhyani Buddhas are also very they are elaborately seen. Then we can see this is Brikuti, then there is Sudhana Kumar, there is Hayagriva. Hayagriva can be understood, can be by a very, like he's pot-bellied, he is a bit wrathful in appearance. And then there's Tara. Tara is in the Anjali Mudra. And then Avalokiteshvara, if we see, he is wearing he's wearing a Yajnapavid, a sacred thread, but which is made up of snake. So he is wearing a Naga Yajnapavid. And then like these small features also help us to understand this transfusion of like this cultural transfusion which is happening between Hinduism and Buddhism, because we see the concept of Naga, like wearing a Naga Yajnapavid related to idols of Shiva. So, and from the Gupta period also, and from the very early images, like sometimes Avalokiteshvara is also, Padmapani is shown with a deer skin. So these are the features, these attributes which show this. I can say this correlativity. Rather saying like none of the religions they never developed in isolation. So this kind of cultural diffusion was always happening between the two. And then this background is very beautiful. The background shows these lotus leaves, because as the story says, like Tara, she emerged from the lotus, or from the lotus pond, from the tear of Avalokiteshvara, and then it also talks about the abode of Amitabh. So all this, like the artist who was creating the image, he was not having only the knowledge what the patron has said and the textual references, but also he had a very, he was also using his own creativity to emphasize the concept by putting additional elements. Now we move to a few more images of Avalokiteshvara. So now this Panch Tathagat is very, it can be seen at the top of these steles of from the Pala period. This is from the Khasarpana Avalokiteshvara. This is Avalokiteshvara with Mount Potlaka, and Mount Potlaka is always associated, is called the abode of Avalokiteshvara. So he's making the Dharmachakra Mudra. And then we can see there is Tara, there is Bhrikuti, there is Hayagriva, and then there is Sudhana Kumar. So the features, these four attendant divinities are also seen in Khasarpana Avalokiteshvara. But then the Khasarpana Avalokiteshvara and this Potalaka, Mount Potalaka Avalokiteshvara can be distinguished by their mudra or hand gesture. He is making the Dharmachakra mudra, whereas here he is seated with one hand in the Varad mudra. The Varad mudra, as described by scholars, indicating the giving of the elixir. Like he is giving the elixir of immortality to the disciples, and then at the top of it is very similar in both the images, where the top looks like the Mount Potlaka, where there are deer, like you can see the deer, like there are deer, and then there are also these small representation of sadhakas or the yogins in the mountain grottos. They are practicing the sadhanas, and here also it is very similar. And then there is lion. So this whole concept of cosmos is well depicted in this three-dimensional format, where there are flora, fauna, there are practitioners, like the practitioners at the bottom. Like in this image particularly, we see the practitioners in this small image. If you can see, there is a very small image in which he is holding something, and this is actually Vajrasattva. So Vajrasattva, I would be discussing why I'm taking this image of Vajrasattva, because it has a very important significance when we talk about these visualization context. So this whole cosmos comprising of animals, humans, is well depicted in these two formats, and helps us to understand like how the mandalas were made. Now, as I was saying, I've been emphasizing on the concept of Panchatathagat and how we identify the Panchatathagat. So the Panchatathagat are Akshobhaya, then Ratna Sambhav, Amitabh, then there is Amogha Siddhi and Vairochana. So Vairochana is in the center. He's the intensely luminescent one, and he has a full understanding of the Dharma Dhatu Gyan, and he is making the Dharmachakra mudra. Then we have Amogha Siddhi, and then this Amogha Siddhi is he belongs to the Karma family, and Amogha Siddhi can be identified by this Bhumi Sparsha mudra. Then we have Amitabh. Amitabh is this one, in which he is having both the hands on his lap. And then we have Ratna Sambhava, and then Akshobhaya. So Ratna Sambhava is this one, and this is Akshobhaya. So all these these 5 Dhyani Buddhas, or the Panch Tathagat, this is from the Indian Museum, and these Panch Tathagat, they helps us to understand the relevance of the five elements, and then also the significance of the kayas. Like there's a concept of kaya in which there's Nirman Kaya. Nirman, as the name suggests, it's like Nirman is creation. Then there is the Sambhog Kaya, Dharm Kaya, and then in the Mandala concept there is also Mahasukha Kaya. So the Mahasukha Kaya is the ultimate Kaya in which you attain the bliss or the enlightenment, and this, and also if we see, like I'm like this concept of five Dhyani Buddha. Now it has a very symbolic connotation also. Like in the top, these Dhyani Buddhas are shown, but if we see this image of a goddess who is Prajnaparamita, like as I have already written, like Prajnaparamita flanked by the five male attendants, so these are the male attendants and the five Dhyani Buddhas and the Vajrasattva in the pedestal. So the Vajrasattva now is seen here also. The Vajrasattva is seen here as well. And so Vajrasattva is the sixth, is the Adi Buddha, or he's like the primordial one, and he gains a very important rank. And at the top or the bottom of this pedestal, you can see these small symbols, like there's a sword, then like there is a lion. So these are, and then there's a minister, and as the text suggests, like these are the seven jewels. So to become a ruler or a chakravartin, you need to have these seven jewels. You need to have the possession of these seven jewels, then you can become the chakravartin or the lord of the universe. And this is how this goddess, who is Prajnaparamita, and both the hands are missing, though it is understood that she was, like, because there is a portion which was attached there, and this portion is missing, so it means like her hand was in Dharma Chakra Mudra. So the Dharma Chakra Mudra is this one. This is the Dharma Chakra Mudra, and so she was making the Dharma Chakra Mudra, and at the top, if you can see, like this Dhyani Buddha is at the center, and then the other are depicted. So apart from the representation of the Dhyani Buddhas at the top, the Dhyani Buddhas are actually, they take the formation of the jewels also, because like in the He Vajra Tantra and like in Manjusri Mulkalp, like there are texts which talk about these like these jeweled ornaments. They are also associated with the Dhyani Buddha, in which the crown is associated with the with Mahavairochana. Then these earrings are associated with another Dhyani Buddha. So the crown, the earring, then these anklets. So when we see, like when we, as like from the beginning, we know like Buddhism, it emphasizes renunciation, the concept of renunciation, in which we are no longer associated with the worldly affairs, and we are no longer associated with the worldly pleasures. But then the question arises, like why these female divinities or the male divinities are heavily bejeweled. So the concept is that like even the jewelry, like even the ornamentation is associated with the Dhyani Buddhas. So they are having the symbols of Dhyani Buddhas, they are having the symbols of the five elements of nature on their body, and they are embodying them in a very composite manner. So this is one of the concepts. And again, if we see it in a very more deep philosophical way, then we understand that this ornamentation is also associated with the Sambhoga Kaya form, because as the name suggests, Sambhoga Kaya is the representation when we have like pleasure. So it is associated with pleasure, but the pleasure is in a very, it's in a matter of pleasure achieved through mental visualization, not by physical pleasure. And this is Prajnaparamita, as I said, and this is another image, which is inscribed image of the Ramapala period, 12th century, and this is Tara. So I'm not talking about I'm not discussing here the iconography of Tara and Prajnaparamita, but I'm trying to make a point, like these images of Tara or Prajnaparamita itself also, they depicted an individual mandala, in which the Dhyani Buddhas are not only they are depicted at the top, but even they are embodied in form of their ornaments. And the central divinity, as the mandala suggests, is like she is also having her own attendants. Like this is Ekjata, and this is Ashoka Kantamarichi, who, like as the name suggests, Ashoka, she um, she is associated with the branch of a Ashoka tree. And then at the bottom of the pedestal, if you see like these volutes, they have donor images. So, and here there are there are donor images, the female donor images, and these donor images are also very similar. And then if we see this image, going back to the Prajnaparamita image, this text is very important, as the text itself says like this is this is Ashta Sahasrika Prajnaparamita, and this is the representation of the Prajnaparamita text. So this direct deification from the text to the image can be identified through this. And if we see this, the Vajra, like the Vajra Sattva image, he is the practitioner, like he is the head of all practices, like he is the presiding divinity of all the visualization practices. And this I will be discussing in the next slide. But before that, another image I have taken of Vajratara. So the female divinities, they were not only depicted in form of this two-dimensional format, but also in format of 3 dimensions, a 3-dimensional way, in which like this lotus format. And this lotus format is very important because this this depiction of lotus, like 8-petal lotus itself, is like a mandala. So the creator has made it like this. There is a cap over it, and the lid, it closes the lotus. And like as a practitioner, as I visualize the deity, as I undergo the process of visualization, like this whole mandala, it opens one by one, and it helps the practitioner, like me as a practitioner, to enter into the central space. The central space where the central deity, the Vajratara, is residing, and helps me to identify myself with the central divinity. So this lotus format is very popular, and most of these sculptures, they were created during 11th century, and then they gained very much popularity in 11th century and also in 12th century. And if we go a little bit in the iconography section, then we see like there are various sadhanas numbered as sadhana 93, 95, 96, 110, like 6 sadhanas in sadhana mala, and then there is also a sadhana in Nishpanna Yogavali, and it talks about the central divinity who is 4-headed. Like there are 4 heads. This is from National Museum. There are 4 heads, one at the back as well, and then there are 5 Dhyani Buddhas. The central, like she is the composite form or the composite power of the 5 Dhyani Buddhas. And apart from that, like she is also presided by 8 offering divinities. These concept of offering divinities is very important, in which like these 8 divinities are actually emerging from the 8 syllables. Like the root mantra of Tara is Om Tare Tu Tare Ture Swaha. So the syllable of Om Tare Tu, these 4 syllables, they lead to the personification of the 4 Pujopakaranas, or the offering divinities, like the Pushpatara, Dhuptara, Deep, and the Gandhatara. And these 4 taras, they preside on the east, south, west, and north portal. So as I'm again emphasizing these cardinal direction, this helps us to understand the parallel idea of the mandala. And then there are 8 intermediate directions. So like as I said, like there are 4 cardinal: east, west, north, south, and then there are 4 intermediate. So these 4 intermediate petals are related to Agni, Agni Kona, Nriti Kona, Vayu Kona, and Ishana Kona. So all these 4 divinities, they are very much associated with Hinduism. And then there is a concept of Vastu Purush Mandal, in which we find Agni, Nriti, Vayu, Ishan occupying different cardinal directions. And the concept of Vastu Purush Mandal is also associated with the construction of architecture and construction of temples. Like because on the land, we make a kind of a diagram in which the central is the Brahmasthan, where the central divinity is placed, and on the cardinal directions there are squares. There are like 81 squares there, or there is a format of 64 squares or 46 squares. So these squares, they consist different divinities, and this is how I'm trying to make you like give you a suggestion, like how this concept of mandala is very important in architecture as well. So these 8 intermediate petals are they're associated with the 5 dhyani buddhas as well, like wheel, thunderbolt, lotus, and sword. So wheel is associated with vajra Vairochana, thunderbolt is associated with Akshobhaya, lotus with Amitabh, and sword with Amoghasiddhi. So again, this concept of Panchatathagat, which is visible in the 2-dimensional format, it is, though it is not visible in the 3-dimensional format, but it is very well. It can be. I can say it is very well pronounced in the placement of these 4 intercardinal directions. So the 4 intermediate deities are Vajra Ankushi, Vajrapani, Vajraspoti, and Vajraghanta. Again, each and every divinity can be identified by their important attributes. And then there are 2 more divinities who arise, female divinities only, who are arising from the last syllables. As I said, Om Tare Ture Tu Tare Ture Swaha. So the Swa is leading to Ushnish Vijaya, and Har is leading to Shumbha. So Ushnish Vijaya is always residing at the top, and Shumbha is residing at the bottom. So here also we can see like the presence of these intercardinal and cardinal images, and here it's a 3-dimensional image. So in this format I can, like, this is very easily understandable how the mandala concept, it is shown in 2-dimensional and 3-dimensional format as well. And now if I'm moving to the Vajrasattva, and I'm saying like Vajrasattva, like the, as the name it suggests, like he is the Adi Buddha, is the primordial one, and the concept of Vajrapani, then Vajradhara are very important in the formation of this Vajrasattva concept. And Vajrasattva, he became the sixth Tathagat. And so this Vajrasattva or Vajrapani Mandal also has these 4 offering deities, which I had shown you, like similar kind of offering deities in this context as well. And according to the text, like these in Far Eastern context, in China and Japan, this Vajrapani Mandala shows these 4 divinities in male format, like they are because the central divinity is a male. So the divinities which are surrounding the central divinity, they are also of similar nature, and therefore they are also male in appearance. But in Indian context, we find like they are female. They are female divinities, and they are very prominently shown in their sensual format. And then we see, like according to the text, there are Vajragiti offering song. As you can see, there is a musical instrument, a lute, offering song. Then there is Vajra Nritya offering movement of dance. Then there is Vajra Mala. She is holding a mala, a garland of glittering jewels. And there is Vajra Alasya. So Vajra Alasya, she is in a posture of akimbo, and she is having the quality of amorous or love or passion, you can say. And in totality, all these 5 images, they are again emphasizing the concept of Panchatathagat. As Rob Lindroth, he says, and this format is very much popular in one of the Japanese temple in Nanji, and also similar kind of images have been seen in Dunhuang cave of China as well. And if we see a very important image from both of them are from the Pala period. This is from the Nalanda Museum, and this is from Mainamati, which is in Bangladesh. And this is 1.5 meter high, a very important image of Vajrasattva, in which he is holding the ghanta. The ghanta can be seen the bell, and the Vajra, which is the adamantine path, denoting the adamantine path. So this combination of Vajra and Ghanta itself, it helps us to understand, because helps us to understand the combination of wisdom and compassion, or skill. Compassion in a more in compassion in context of yogini tantras is more pronounced as skillful means. So the combination of skillful means and wisdom, it leads to the ultimate bliss. And also wisdom, as I said, wisdom is pragya. Pragya is associated with Prajnaparamita. So Prajnaparamita is the combination of female and male gender is also very much pronounced or emphasized in this form. And now we move to Manju Vajra Mandala. This is very important image. It is in Metropolitan Museum, and then we have a very similar kind of image in Rubin Museum as well. So why I'm taking this image? Because to show you the transformation of the Panchatathagat. Now you see at the top there is a shrine format, and since I have been talking about the architecture playing a very important role in the formation of the mandalas. The architectural format is also seen in this particular image, in which this is a very Nagar style shrine with the stupa finial, and also this Sukhanasi. It acts like as a stupa only. The stupa has a Chhatravali, and at the facade of the stupa there are images which are imitating the central divinity. And so the Manju Vajra Mandala, which appears in Manjusri Nam Sangiti, and also in Sadhanamala, it says like Manju Vajra is actually an emanation, or it's another, like it's synonymous to Vajrasattva. So I have shown you Vajrasattva, in which he is holding this Vajra and Ghanta and Vajra, and this similar thing, it appears here also, where he is shown, like in the next image you can see here he is shown this Vajra, he is holding Vajra and Ghanta. So Manju Vajra is very, like he is synonymous to Vajrasattva. And it also states about the 5 Dhyani Buddhas. The 5 Dhyani Buddhas take a similar form of the Manju Vajra. So now, as I have been emphasizing, because the deciding deity, or the protagonist of this mandala is Manju Vajra. So all the peripheral deities, they also take a very similar format, or they take a same format of the central divinity. So the 5 Dhyani Buddhas, or these 5 Manju Vajras, formations of Manju Vajra, which are associated with the 5 cardinal directions, are also the 5 Dhyani Buddhas. And in this, you can easily see how like the ornate, and then because it's from late 11th century. So during 11th century, the Pala artisans, they were putting a lot of focus on ornamentation, and this trefoil arch motif is also shown in this image. If I show you this kind of Odisha, so in Odisha also this trefoil arch was very famous. And then at the bottom of the pedestal we see again the Vajrasattva. So Vajrasattva is here, and there is a text. The text is actually the Prajnaparamita text, because Manjusri is the perfection, like he is the male personification of perfection of wisdom. So the wisdom is coming from the Prajnaparamita's text. So this text is there, and these 7 jewels are also they are denoted in the central in the central side. And on this corner we see these are the donor figures. So Rob Linroth, he says, like since in the visualization of the mandala, the Vajrasattva cult takes a very important role, and Vajrasattva himself says, like for visualization, you have to become the Vajrasattva. Like to become the deity, you need to attain that position of Vajrasattva, and he like in the textual descriptions, there are like he is elaborately said as he's the teacher, and as we know, like in esoteric Buddhism, the transmission of knowledge from the guru to the guru and the disciple is very important. So the guru gives the knowledge to the initiator or the perceptor in a very secret, in secrecy, and this kind of esoteric nature in this whole formula, the guru plays a very important role. And in the visualization also of mandala, the guru plays an important role. So the guru is actually he is the Vajra Sattva. And also he says, scholars have said, like in Nepal, still today, there is a title called Vajracharyas who consider, like these are the Buddhist priests, and who consider themselves like they are the emanations or they are the personifications, or you can say they are similar to Vajrasattva because they are the chief Buddhist priests. So here also in this pedestal, we can understand like he can be the chief priest who is taking the formation of the Vajrasattva, and he is initiating this image, and he is trying to, like this practitioner is trying to envision or uh, achieve the consciousness of Manju Vajra within the mandala format. So now we have more images also in which like we see the Manju Vajra image, but in this format we see the uppermost section, they are all male, they are not female images. But then we have one more image which is from Norton Simon Foundation, where the five images of associated with the five Dhyani Buddhas, they are the female images, and then they are very similar to this central image, but then their gestures are different. And then Malar Ghosh, she has written, and also Malman has written, like there are sadhanas in which it says like the female pragyas or the female consorts of the Dhyani Buddhas, they also take a very similar form of the central divinity, like the Swaha. So Swaha is like me. So it takes the similar form of the central divinity. And now in this image, I'm just trying to emphasize the concept of non-duality, where the pragya and the Prajnaparamita or then Guha Samaj Manju Vajra, they are in union. They are in cosmic union, I can say. Not like though for someone who is visualizing, it seems like a physical union, but it is more like a mental union happening between the male and the female and leading to enlightenment. And this, I have taken one more image of another form of Vajrasattva, which is Aparachana. And here also the mandala format is very much shown, in which the two female divinities, Kesini and Upakesini, they are also shown at the bottom. And all of them, they are holding the Prajnaparamita text, because the text is the key, or it is the main teaching of Buddhism. And now we move to mandalas, like more in a three-dimensional format, where there are Vajra, Varahi mandala, Lotus mandalas. As I have said, the Lotus mandalas are they play a much more role in visualization, where they open and then they lead the person to enter into a space. And this kind of Lotus format is not only a mere lotus, but it has more conceptual data, conceptual symbolism, in which there are three circles, like the circle of body, speech, and mind. And the three circles are presided by different divinities. And in this image, there is at the center, there is Vajravarahi. Vajravarahi is again associated with Vajra Yogini. There is a whole cult of Vajra Yogini. Like some say like Vajra Yogini is the Sambhogkaya form of Tara also, and she is wrathful in nature. She is holding this Khatavanga, this kind of attribute, and then there is Kartari. And by holding this attribute, it is also signifying the role, the presence of the male or male consort, who is the Chakra Samvar. And at the back of this image, there is one attendant figure which is Khandoraha. So Khandora, Lama, like Dakini, these are, and Rupini, they are the four major divinities on the residing on the cardinal direction. And though in this image there is only one, which is Khandora, and they'll all look similar, but then they have little bit of differentiation in attributes. And these kalasha are like, since this concept of mandala and visualization has much more to do with the liturgical practices or the ritualistic practices, the kalasha are also, they can be understood as holding the different offerings to the divinity. And this is a much later image of 18th century, just to show you the significance of the mandala. It is like the text, there is Vajra Yogini Sadhana text by Umapati Dev, which talks about the Dharmodaya, like this triangle and this inverted triangle, they gives us the symbolism of the female genitalia, and which is the key of procreativity. And in the center, the Vajra Varahi, the Vajra Yogini is residing. And then this whole, like why there are flames, because of the wrathful nature, has erotic sentiment, and also this like through her wrathful nature, and she's helping the divinities and cutting off all the negativity. And then at the outer sense, at the outer circle, there are images of Naropa, then Sarapa, and these are the various siddhas or the adepts who were involved in the expansion of this Vajra Yogini mandala. And so we find like I found a very good description in this Laghu Tantrika Vajrapani text, which is an extension of Chakra Samvara Tantra, and it describes the arrangement of the components that form the physical mandala, the places where the mandala has to be drawn. So this is the description of the places given by the Blessed One in order to accomplish the rituals and worldly perfections. The yogin has to draw the mandala that will further describe later on the text, like in the places indicated in the stanza, on a mountain where he should accomplish immobilizing stamba, confusion. Like this is a very, like, have a very deep significance in which I was said, like each and every format of this lotus mandala has to do something with the concept of time, space, and body. And these divinities, like these surrounding divinities, they are actually playing a very important role in the concept of like the three kayas, the concept of then not only three kaya, but then also the chakras. We know about the chakras, like how the awakening of chakras lead to enlightenment. So, and then also the pithas. So each and every position of the yoginis or the dakinis, they're associated with the pilgrimage centers. So apart from that, like just to show you just give a reference of the placement of these female figures, I have taken this image of Heruka. Like he is like the cult of Heruka is very much associated with the with Bodhisattva as well. And Heruka, he emerges as an independent, wrathful divinity. He has a different cult, and there are sadhanas in Hevajra Tantra, and also there are sadhanas in Sadhanamala, in Nishpanyogavali, and some tantra, Samavar Tantra. There is one more text. So there are like various texts which talk about the central divinity of Heruka, how like this corpse is actually the Mara, and he is trampling the corpse, he is trampling the Mara. And these female divinities who are seen in a three-dimensional format in a form of a lotus, now they are also seen in this stele format. So just to show you, give you a reference, this is the 2-dimensional and this is the 3-dimensional format in which the female divinities who are named who are differently named, and they are shown here. And just to name a few, I can say, like in the center, like in the center of the Heruka, when he is shown in union with the female consort. The female consort is Nairatma, and the other 7 are they also have different names like Vajra Gauri, Vajrayogini, Dakini, Pukasi, Hasmari, then and Bhutchari, Kechari. So these, then Chandali, Dombi. So each and every deity has a different root mantra. Like I said about the Tara mantra, even He Vajra, Vajrayogini, they have root mantras. So from each and every root mantra, like these female divinities are arising, and these female divinities are also in a combined format. They are in the Hevajra Tantra. They help in the physical formation of the god, like the bones of like it is said, like the bones and the like the bones and the blood and the flesh are formed by these different yoginis, or then you can say the dakinis, and then like the Hevajra, when he is shown in union in this mandala of he is the lord of the mandala. He has 4 legs, he has 8 faces and 16 arms, and he tramples the 4 maras. And then as I was saying, like the subsidiary deities like Vetali, she is the destroyer of Mara. She appears in the west. Khasmari, fearful appearance, appears in the north. Then Chandali in the southwest, Dombini in the northwest, Kukasi in the northeast. So it's a very complicated theory in which, like, each and every female divinity is not only attending the central divinity who are in a union, like this is Hevajra in union with Nairatma, but then they occupy the central disk of the Lotus Mandala is the lunar and the solar disk, which is the combination of the ultimate, which is the ultimate bliss. Then there is in the center there is mind chakra, then there is a body chakra, then there is a speech chakra, and so these are the chakras which I have been emphasizing, and these chakras they are also associated with the 3 kayas, and also they are associated with the 4 joys, like this Hevajra Tantra. It talks about the 4 consecrations as well. Like there is a master consecration, there is a secret consecration. The third is a consecration in knowledge, which is the Prajnaparamita consecration, and then 4th consecration. So these 4 consecrations, again, they help us to understand this ritualistic viewpoint or the ritualistic perspective and association with the mandala. And the consecrations are also written in the Sarvatathagrat Samagraha text, and then Manjusri Mulkalp, also in the Guha Samaj Tantra. So this whole concept of Hevajra became very popular in Southeast Asia. Also, I have taken this image just to give you a visual of in a 3-dimensional format, where the yoginis who are occupying different time and spaces, who are presiding over the different pilgrimages center, like there are a number of 24 pilgrimages, there are a number of 61, 46. So they are moving, and this text Laghu Tantra by Vajrapani, it says the Yogini Samachara. So they are always in movement. The central divinity, he is always stable, stagnant in one position, but then they are always moving, as like the universe is always in a revolution format. So now, like format of Vajravarahi, and this is not Vajravarahi, but He Vajra. This is Chakrasamvar, and again I'm here to show you these four female forms which I had shown you in the Vajravarahi. Like in the beginning, I had shown you this, like this Khandoraha, and if I go to this slide, I can show you Khandoraha here also. So she is four-armed, having this Kartari, and like they are very similar to the central divinity of Vajravarahi. And Chakrasamvara is he can be distinguished between He Vajra and Chakrasamvara because Chakrasamvara holds elephant skin. Like and then this is the Brahma, head of the Brahma. So Brahma in Buddhist context, sometimes he is also associated with the Maras, like the obstructions. And then when again going back to the association with the rituals, so here we see there is a figure. This is a corpse, and there are jackals. So this corpse suggests us like the association of the Chakra Samvara rituals with the cremation ground. And then in there are also dancing yoginis. So they are like the the yogins, they are performing the rituals, and and also the Vajrasattva is appearing again. So the Vajrasattva can be understood as the supreme practitioner. Practitioner, like the donor, is actually who is the practitioner. He is trying to he's trying to portray himself in form of Vajrasattva. Like me as a donor trying to portray myself as having an enlightened state of Vajrasattva, and therefore I am putting myself at the bottom of this pedestal. Like this is like an hypothesis which I have derived from by reading one of the articles of Rob Linroth. And then like this format of Chakrasamvara and Chakrasamvara Mandala has taken different forms. Like again this lotus format, and also this is from the Potala collection, 12th century. It is from this Pala Tibetan style, but here also we see like these lotus on these kalashas on the four intermediate directions, and then these four Lama, Rupini, Dakini, and Khandoraha, they are presiding on the four cardinal directions, and in the center, Chakrasamvara is in union with Vajravarahi. Vajravarahi, as the name suggests, like there is an excrescence of Vajra head, so head at the bottom, and then like both the deities, they are actually trampling these two Hindu divinities who are Bhairavi and Kalratri. Bhairava and Kalratri. Bhairava is four-armed and Kalratri is two-armed. And the same format is again appearing in this Lotus Mandala. And we can see, like when we see the text in Lotus Mandala, there are references of female divinities presiding at the exterior of the lotus petals as well, and there are carvings as well. So the carvings are in low relief, in incisions, or we can say engraving, and like they talk about the presence of different divinities like Yamaduti, and then there are like various divinities. It's like a cosmos of divinities, but then there are only few which are depicted inside the format. And then apart from that, the style, if we see, like there are sometimes there is an aquatic figure, aquatic life, and there are fishes at the bottom, so it can be understood as the Netherland. Then this stalk is considered as the earth from where it is arising, and then sometimes there are Bodhisattva images at this portion, and then at the top of the lotus is like the abode or the heaven of the god, where the god is residing. So this three spheres, like the earth, the heaven, and the nether world, can also be denoted through this image. So here I finished my presentation, and I would like to thank you for listening to me. And if you have any queries, I would like to answer them. And in my and I would that would be a more enriching experience to which can help me for my further research as well. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Pranay, for inviting me as well. Yeah, Pranay, I agree with you. Like, there are similarities between the Hindu and Buddhist iconography. And as I emphasized again and again, like, this development, this iconographic development was never happening in isolation, because there was always intercultural transfusion which was happening. So even like in the beginning, as a master's student, I was just new to this field. In the beginning, when I used to see the sculpture of Vishnu in National Museum, which is just in the entrance, and when I used to see the sculpture of Avalokiteshvara, they used to look very similar, because as I showed, like, the Avalokiteshvara image, he has two female divinities at the as attendants, and the same format is also shown in Vishnu images as well. And when the images are getting produced from a same cultural sphere, like the Pala dynasty, the style is also similar. But then, as an art historian, like when we have dealt with the primary texts, so the iconography is a very difficult portion where we need to understand, like, each and every element, whether there is a vajra, whether there is a like a small donor figure. We need to read each and every visual format, so that, and then match the same with the textual descriptions. And then apart from that, like apart from the research zone, I would say, like, this cultural transfusion has two aspects, where Buddhism has taken Hinduism in a very friendly manner, like representation of Avalokiteshvara, like this third eye concept, and then this He Vajra. So He Vajra cult, then there is Trailok Vijaya cult, this Chakra Samvara cult, because as I was showing you in the last slide, where there is Chakra Samvara holding this elephant skin. So this is also seen in one of the images of Shiva, Shiva Gajantak. So Gajantak Shiva also holds the this elephant skin, because he overcomes the elephant demon, and then he holds the skin as a sign of a victory. And the same is shown in this Chakra Samvara image as well. So this is showing the, like, through this image I can tell you, like, okay, there was a convergence where two Shaivite cult and this Buddhist tantric cult, they were um, they were exchanging ideas, and then they were growing in the Eastern Indian region, because in Eastern India region was more like a Shakta Tantra, because if you see, like me as a Bengali, like we practice more like all these Durga Puja and all these Shakti rituals more, rather we go for Vishnu Puja. So Eastern India always had that inclination for Shaivite cults. But then at the same position, if you see, there are like Bhairava and Kalratri, who are also representation of Shiva and Parvati. They are again, they are trampled by the foot of Chakrasamvara. So Buddhism and Hinduism, they were having a tussle when by the time of early medieval period, when Buddhism was very much it was only associated to some pockets, like in Eastern India, even Deccan, it was diminishing, because people, like, they considered like the inclusion of sexual rituals, they were corrupting the religion. It was against the ideology or the basics of the principles of the religion. So people were thinking like this spirituality can be more achieved through Hinduism, like, because the Brahmanical cult was very much dominant during that period, and people were moving away from Buddhism. So then to establish or re-establish their grip on the society, they were also portraying these Hindu divinities in a more subjugated manner. Like Brahma, like he is holding the head of the Brahma, like the beheaded head of Brahma, and Brahma is considered as a Mar. So Mar, he is considered as the as an obstacle. So these two things, like these two paradoxical things. One, Buddhism is very taking Hindu elements, whereas Buddhism is also opposing the Hindu elements. It's a very interesting study, and many scholars, they have also studied on that, like Thomas Donaldson. Then there's one more. Then KTS Sarao, he has written on it. So this has been well discussed by the scholars. And iconography is something good, like, because that's from a philosophical viewpoint, but then we talk about in an iconographic viewpoint in this presentation. Yeah. Mm. Yeah, there is a story behind it, if I can say. If you read one of the stories of Shiva only, where Shiva, this he beheads one of the head of Brahma, and if you see in the Shiva images, he has a skull cup. The skull cup is actually the skull of Brahma only, and then Brahma, like Shiva, he actually performs a sin by beheading a Brahmin, because Brahma is from the Brahmin thing. So he beheaded Brahma because Brahma had he was having I can say he was having lust for Saraswati, and Saraswati is actually created by Brahma. So it's a very, it shows very different aspects. So then there are different stories in Ling Puran. Then, like, this whole story where Shiva, he beheads Brahma, and then he went to Kashi. From Kashi, he attains the enlightenment. When he performed the rituals at Kashi, he attained the enlightenment, and then he also crossed the Deodar forest. And in this story also, there are sub stories in which, while Shiva is doing a penance for getting redemption from his sin, he is also taking the role of of the Natraj. He's performing the, not the Natraj, not the Natraj of the southern Indian story, but he's also performing the dance, the cosmic dance. And then at the end, he got the redemption at Varanasi. So this beheading of Brahma is there in Ling Puran in context of Shiva, and then the same context has been taken, like, because Brahma is not four-headed, there was fifth head. So the fifth head was beheaded by Shiv, and this similar context is also seen in Chakrasamvara as well. So I can say, like, there are stories which have been taken from Hinduism. I can say, like, by, yeah, like, as in art history, it is quite easier for us. But then people who are from different background, who are not having very in-depth knowledge of Buddhism, they can identify by the presence of Panchatathagat. So I have been talking, like, in the beginning, I said, like, these are the Panchatathagat, and the Panchatathagat are essentially there in the on the headdress on the stele. Like, even if they are not on the stele of the image, but on the headdress, you can see there is one small effigy of the god, of one of the Tathagat. So Panchatathagat, because in the Pala period, there are Jain images also, there are Hindu images, and there are Buddhist images. So sometimes it becomes very difficult for us to distinguish between Buddhist and Jain images as well. So this presence of Panchatathagat is a very important symbol which helps us, I can say.
Hello, am I audible? Hi, this is Apurva. I have a question to ask. Abira, are you able to hear me?
Yeah, Purva, I'm able to hear you.
Yeah, thank you for sharing this image knowledge in your presentation. I have a question about did you find any indication of a link between the way the scriptures have been transformed into architecture and the knowledge of numerology? I mean, is there a specific, if people used to follow a specific knowledge or the nine yoginis or three scriptures in front of, entering the temple or the shrine? So, is there any link or, yeah, how it is?
Thank you, Purva, for asking this question. And yeah, this is very important. As I said, like all these images, even if we see a two-dimensional image, a three-dimensional image, or these paintings, even the architecture, they are all planned. Like there is always a map. Like when we
Yeah.
even when we construct a building, we have a plan. We have an architectural
Hmm.
plan where we need a bedroom, where we need a kitchen, or we need a bathroom. And then
Yeah.
in earlier context, like now we do a very random planning, I can say.
Hmm.
Apart from the like big architectural projects, like houses are created on a random zone. But then if you see, like most of the temples, they are east faced, because they
Yeah.
are, and then they have a connotation with Surya. So this concept of creating constructing these buildings was very much founded in Buddhism, in Hinduism, where I said like this is the concept of Vastu Purush Mandal, because the Vastu Purush Mandal is also a grid kind of format in which each and every grid or each and every square is dominated by a deity, and the deity has
Hmm.
different features. So Surya is on the east, then we have Brahma in the center because he is the creator, and even if we see a temple, like if you enter any of the temples like Khajuraho, so the temple formation is also equated with the formation of a body. And also I said in the mandala, when the mandala, the body, speech, the chakras, the three chakras, the body, speech and mind, they're associated with the body parts. Like the speech is with the throat, the body is with the heart, and the mind is like there are three body parts. So the body
Yeah.
parts are also associated with numerology, because there is a concept of
Hmm.
geomany. When like
Yeah.
even in Tibetan architecture, like till today, like if you see Alchi, then this Baksu, then all these architectural plans, they have a very strong concept of geomany, in which they
Hmm.
have there is a chief architect who is having a very good and deep knowledge of the text, and then he is the person like who tells the like the builders to create each and every shrine according to the text. So, and then there are very rituals, like if you find a land, it has to be like it is said, like the land has to be near a forest. It should, like a land chosen for a shrine should be near a forest. There should be a water body. There should be, the land should be fertile. The land should not be barren. So there are very rituals, like while even creating a foundation, these rituals were firstly practiced, then the land was sanctified by the chief architect, and then by having a grid plan which helps us to understand the significance of numerology. By having a
Hmm.
grid plan,
Hmm.
they start constructing with the central shrine, which is the sanctum, having the main image of the like in context of even if you take a Shaivite temple, so the Shivling will be in the center, and then outside there will be subsidiary shrine. And if you see this Shikara, Shikara is always on the sanctum sanctorum. It is never on the mandapa. So
Okay.
this whole structure, it looks like a human body. And this Vastu Purush Mandal is very important in context of both Buddhism and Hinduism. And then everything, even if it is a sculpture, even if it is a temple, or like everything is codified. So we follow a very strict codification, and it also helps us as an art historian to understand the image, because we need to read the primary text if we want to decipher an image.
Yeah. Okay. I think I got my answer and a better understanding now. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Pranay, and thank you, Aditi, for inviting me. And I would love to work with you, like contribute in through my lectures or by having some activities. And this has been a very enlightening thing for me, because whenever I give a presentation, while reading, while making a presentation, I always find something new. So it's a good practice to share knowledge every time. Thank you so much. Thanks for listening to
Thanks a
me as
lot,
well.
Abira. Thanks a lot, Abira, and thanks to all our participants for being here with us. It was definitely an insightful presentation, an enlightening one, and I hope everybody must have enjoyed. And as I always say, that your feedback is important to us. Please send us your feedback and any suggestions if you have. You're most welcome. Follow us on Instagram and connect us on email if you want to. And I guess this was a great evening, and all the best to everyone. Stay in the loop.